to our first podcast for Cigars and Bullshit. Pretty simple concept. We're just a few friends who really enjoy cigars. We thought it'd be a great idea to make a podcast and just discuss cigars and bullshit. I'm Steve.
I'm Bentley.
Mr. Frank.
Mr. Frank, Bentley, welcome. So we're going to just get started and cut and light and start talking about what we're having. And I think we discussed earlier about the possibility of discussing for the first podcast, which I think would be a great idea, is how we all got started with cigars. But I'll let you guys go first since you were smoking before I was. Bentley, how'd you get started?
I mean, I think I told you this story where, a friend of mine introduced me to cigars. He's like, let's have a cigar. And I was like, okay. And the thing was, at the time, we thought Gasha Vega was like a top line cigar. So we actually went down to Atlantic City.
So
in Atlantic City.
I apologize for interrupting you. This had to be a while ago.
This was a while ago. Do they even make Gasha Vegas?
I have no idea.
I think they make Gasha Vegas. Anyway, we picked it up at the local gas station. So that shows you. It wasn't even. I think the humidor was just like a plastic box, right? It was just one of those Gasha Vegas.
Different times, yeah.
Yeah. So we went to Atlantic City.
I'm sorry again. What would you guesstimate it to be? 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago?
Oh man, that had to be.
The 90s.
I would say it was the 90s. Yeah. It was the mid to late 90s.
Okay.
And
Frank was 2.
2.5. Yeah.
And so we were headed to Atlantic City, and we were going to do a little gambling, hanging out, and it was one of these things where they had, I can't remember the casino, but let's say it was like Caesars. Caesars had an area where you could go out, and I think at the time in the 90s, you could still smoke indoors. It was one of these things though where...
yeah, you're right. Different times.
Yeah.
Might have been. Casinos especially.
In the casino, definitely. I don't know. Now, can you? I haven't been to a casino in so long.
Last time I stepped foot in the casino,
can?
I don't go all the time, but the last time I did,
you can,
maybe
right?
5 to 10 years ago, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
it was one of the things where I actually hated going to the casino because
there's so much smoke.
I was like, do they have a smoke-free casino?
Right.
All these cigarettes are killing me over here.
Yeah. So we gamble, and then we go out. They had this area in like Caesars, I think it was again, and there was an area full of cigars. And so we go out, and I have my Gasha Vega, and I, didn't even really cut it. I just bit the end off,
Started choking on it.
Right? I start puffing on this Gasha Vega, and I'm like, yeah, I'm the man. I got my cigar. Guy walks over, and I don't remember what he handed me, but he said, put that down. And he handed me a cigar.
That's nice.
And it was cool but I think he knew, like, we didn't know what the hell we were doing.
He wanted to help you look a little bit better.
He probably smelled that too. He probably was like, what the hell is that? And so that's how I started. And then obviously I just learned from there. Like what a good cigar is and what a bad cigar is, and different tastes, and I've been smoking for a while with that. But I'm in no way, I would say, a cigar aficionado. I just like
You've been smoking for 2-3 decades, but on occasion.
On occasion, and I know what I like, and I know what I don't like, and I experiment here and there, and that and to talk about that,
there's always new stuff coming out.
Yeah, there's always new stuff. Back then there wasn't this whole tip on flavored cigars as much. Just like the brands were more prominent, and obviously Cubans were like, oh, you get a Cuban cigar because it was so legal and all of that. And then I learned, this is just my opinion, Cubans aren't. It's like, I've had a non-Cuban cigar that I thought was amazing,
There's a lot of truth to that.
And this is what I like, you know. So this is actually a Macanudo. I like Macanudos. Even back then, I learned when I started learning that Macanudo was a brand that I always liked. This is the Macanudo M. This is more the one of their flavored lines where it's this one is cocoa mint or mint cocoa.
That's their new stick.
One of the new sticks.
Well, recently.
The newer, yeah. So in the flavored line, if you will.
Right.
And yeah, so that's what I'm smoking on.
What do you have, Frank?
I have one of these cigars of the year.
Last year's.
Actually, it was, yeah. It was last year's. Actually, was it last year's? I think
was it 21 or 22?
It actually says 2020 on this one. So this has actually been sitting in my humidor for a little while. The Perez Carrillo. You can see on like the little wrapper here, it's a little discolored. It's been sitting in my humidor for about a year.
Aging nicely.
It's aging nicely, and yeah, I mean, I just lit it up just a little while ago. It's pretty smooth. It's pretty nice, dark leaf. Yeah, I mean, I don't remember my first cigar too much, but I do remember like how I started. I mean, I just basically I started off like I feel like everyone else did. I guess with like flavored cigars. I tried what was my first one? An acid. And I was into the flavored cigars for a little while. Went maybe a year or so, and then I started. I think it was a little before I met you. That was what, 2 years ago?
2 to 3 years ago.
Probably
almost 3 years ago.
Okay, so we're going on 3. So I basically started changing my palate around there, only because like I wanted to see what else there was out there. And to be honest with you, I'm kind of glad I got away from the flavored stuff because I feel like it takes away from like almost like the structure of it and then like I don't know, just the
natural idea of a cigar.
Exactly. I feel like just smoking flavored stuff is like you're just trying to hide that I don't know what you call that, but
I understand what you're saying. It's more of a purist thing.
Yeah. So I wanted to venture away from
you like the purity of a cigar for what it is rather than something flavored to cover up.
Exactly. No, that's exactly. I just can't find the word for that.
I'm, as you guys know, but our audience doesn't. But I'm all over the place. I'm pretty much have an open palate to anything and everything, with the exception of garbage, of course. But meaning that I'll enjoy a flavored cigar. I'll enjoy a pure cigar. I'll enjoy a light cigar. I'll enjoy a dark cigar.
Of course.
It also depends upon what I'm pairing it with. Like right now, I'm just having a bottle of water. But, there's times when I want an espresso or a coffee with, a little cream and sugar in it, something sweet. And I might match that with like a tobacco or something
Yeah.
But there's times when I just want like a nice stick. And it could be anything from a Patron to a Fuente to a Davidoff or whatever. And there's no flavor in those except for what they are.
Exactly.
So I'm all over the place with that. With me, you guys know my story with the picking up cigars. I kind of went and jumped off a cliff with this whole venture. It started for me with COVID, not being able to see friends for 6 months or so, and the whole social distancing thing, and being out of work for a few months, and kind of everybody just scared to death of COVID. And then it hit fall, like October, I want to say, and everybody was in the States was on like high alert from February, March. And things started to calm down for a moment. There was that window where people were like, all right, maybe we could get together and have Thanksgiving, but keep it real small, etc., etc. So I had thought of hosting a cigar fire pit barbecue with a handful of select friends who I know are cigar lovers, but yet, just for the record, I had never smoked ever, not even a cigarette. I was
gonna say, don't
not in my youth.
Don't leave that part out.
Yeah, I've never smoked.
You weren't a smoker at all. You just wanted to host this cigar type event,
right? And I said, it might be a nice way to get a few friends together, hang out outside, social distance, have a fire pit, grill a couple of burgers. You get to see each other. You stay safe, stay healthy. but I knew that I had all these friends that enjoyed cigars. So I went to the store, bought like a dozen cigars, threw them on a table, and said, "I know you guys probably smoke your regular choice. I'm assuming like cigarettes, like you'd like a Marlboro and you'd like a Newport, but." I went and said, "I know nothing. Give me a few different sticks," and I didn't even know they called them sticks. The lingo came later, and everybody came over, had a cigar. We had a burger, and they went to light up a second cigar, and I still at this point didn't have one. And one of our other friends, Bobby, says, "Wait a minute, why aren't you smoking?" I said, "I don't smoke," and he's like, "Who the hell hosts a cigar get together and doesn't smoke?" And they. At 50 years old, peer pressured into picking up a cigar. I chose a little Fuente and enjoyed it and never looked back.
Yeah.
And it went into high gear from there because I got left with about a half a dozen cigars. And each week on the weekend, I was like, "Let me try another one. Let me try another one." And then by Christmas, my wife is buying me a humidor, and then it exploded from there. But yeah, I really enjoy it, man. Shockingly, I never thought that I looked at it as something repulsive and disgusting. But so much different than a cigarette is you taking it in, you're enjoying it for what it is, the flavors, and you're letting it out. You're not inhaling it, you're not messing up your lungs. At least I'm not a doctor. At least I don't think I'm doing any damage in that sense, but
can't be as bad as
I don't think starting at 50 that I'm going to be like facing any major problems with enjoying them at this rate.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with you on that part, and like you said, I don't smoke that frequently. So for me, again, I'm keeping with my kind of like my true to self feeling about them.
Yeah.
I have them occasionally, and I enjoy them, and then I may try something different. And I think that gives me an opportunity to kind of enjoy them a longer period of time. And being that they're not cigarettes where
you
they're
can
like
stop.
constantly right.
You can pause for like 2 weeks.
Right, exactly. And if you want one every day, that's fine too. You know what I mean? Like so, yeah. I agree with you on that. But this is a habit that it can be very expensive. And that's another thing.
We're gonna pause here. Steve, we know all about that, right?
So we won't talk too much about the cost, but yeah, I mean you can go off the deep end with this if you really get into it.
Oh yeah, have you met my nephew?
But I enjoy them. I enjoy cigars.
Yeah. No, it's definitely it's a good habit, I guess. It could be worse.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, I say it's not. It's not something that. Well, at least for me, it's not like I'm addicted to something. It's not gambling. It's not. I'm not drinking.
Yeah,
I'm not drinking
a
in
lot worse.
excess.
Even if
So there's a lot worse habits.
Right.
Where this is, I think. All right. So let's go to the point of what you enjoy about a cigar. Aside from the cigar, 2 points that come to mind with me right out the gate, because I know how I am, my personality. I'm always busy. I'm always doing something. Is when I have a cigar, first of all, I have to kind of prep it in my mind. I got to make time for it.
Yeah.
I just love that it makes you stop and just chill for an hour to 2 hours or whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And I also love the social aspect. I'm a social person, so I like the idea of sitting with a friend and having a cigar and just catching up or talking.
Yeah.
I completely love that. But I have no problem sitting by myself in my backyard and my dog, walking around the yard and doing whatever, chilling out with me, having a fire and just enjoying a stick and stopping for an hour or two, because I don't do that. And I think that's why I really do love it so much.
I think I have to piggyback on that. I like socializing as well. Like there's been times where, me and Steve go to the lounge and we just meet these people, and they always they bring up these great, like, "Oh, what do you do?" and "Hey, what do you do?" And then all of a sudden, we just end up meeting someone, and then they're like, "Oh, you should. When do you usually come here?" "Oh, we usually come every Friday." "Okay, that's awesome."
Well, case in point was we went recently, and I met a guy that I went to high school with.
Yep.
He was 1 year below me. I didn't recognize him because we're in our 50s now.
Right.
But I'm like, small world, man. You
Right,
go step into a lounge, you sit down in the corner of a room, him and I just having a conversation. One guy sitting by himself waiting to meet a friend, and we all started chatting. He's like, "Oh, where you from? Where you from?" And what? We lived in the same neighborhood. We went to the same school at the same time.
Right.
And I'm like, here I
love
am.
it. I love it.
53, and I bump into somebody I don't even remember. That's how long ago it was. But
I mean, I agree with you. I think there's the social aspect of it that I like, but more I like the take a break that you talked about. So for me, the cigar and my how I learned and when I would smoke from time to time, I didn't have a group of friends that smoked cigars. What I found out is in doing parties, there would always be if it was a wedding, there'd be guys and they go, oh, they go have some cigars or whatever.
Yeah.
And in fact, at weddings, people give out cigars. The guys. So it was always that part of it, and I would enjoy that. But then the way it makes you feel to say, look, let me just take a break.
Absolutely.
I can relax. This is a very relaxing habit where you just kind of chill.
And that's such a good feeling.
You can enjoy because, as you said, I mean, we're constantly in a rat race. Depending on what you do for your job, and
especially in New York, a lot of major cities or
your
suburbs
family
of any
life.
cities,
I don't know, the dynamic of your family, your wife and kids, and I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So you get an opportunity to just sit down and this is like a me time type of activity. So
it's like Steve said. It's like when you have that, I guess that 45 minutes to yourself, you kind of just realize
that was on camera.
That's why, I don't want to ash as much as I do, but I have to sometimes. You don't want to get it every.
And what I learned about the whole ashing thing is it's the type of it's the cigar, how it's rolled, and then
it could be more sturdy. Right?
Yeah, it could be a little tighter.
Obviously, the thinner,
the
easier it's going to pop off. But sometimes it's the density of that roll too.
Mm-hmm.
This one's pretty good.
There's a whole contest that about the whole. There's like a contest for how long your ash is, and they start. I don't know the minutes or whatever, but they start a clock, and everybody's there, and you just let your ash go, and if obviously if it falls, then
you're out.
You're out.
That's awesome.
But yeah. I was.
We should do one.
I was looking it up. It was crazy. And I was like, who thinks of that? But then I guess, there's a competition.
Everybody's smoking like this.
Right? You're smoking up.
There's you can't, I don't know the rules. You can't put it down. You can't do this. You can't do that. You gotta,
you can't use duct tape.
Right. So, there's a bunch of things.
Can't smoke in a glass tube.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I digress with that because of the ash.
But, no big deal.
Yeah.
So you have Perez Carrillo. You have the M.
Macanudo.
Chocolate mint.
M.
What is it called?
Mint cocoa.
Okay. I'm smoking
LFD.
La Flor Dominicana. It's Airbender. I'll tell you what I love about it. LFD is one of my favorite brands. Just one of. I have several. But what I love about this stick and others that they have is the chisel tip. I find it very unique, first of all, in design. And doing a little homework, I found out, and I'm stating this because I got it from the internet. I don't know if it's factual. It's not straight from LFD, but I believe it. LFD has a patent on this tip. And what's really cool about it is...
patent a tip?
Chisel tip. They have the patent.
So I can't roll another cigar without a chisel tip? That there's no way.
I think so, dude. I think from manufacturers, companies, it's...
You can't chisel tip a cigar?
Yeah.
And
I believe LFD has a patent on this.
That's crazy. But
we'll look into that. We'll come back to that on another podcast, but I'll do more homework. But what I like is you don't have to cut the chisel tip. When you get it, there's a little cap on it, right?
You just peel it off?
No, there's a little cap. And you grab it from the two wide sides.
Oh.
I mean, you're not going to be able to see this, but you grab it from flat it, grab it from the wide side, and you just squeeze it, and it opens it up, and the cap pops off, and you peel it right off. And it's already cut and ready to go.
I know who designed that. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the Cigar and Bullshit podcast. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Just hanging out with my friends, sharing experiences that help you take away something interesting and maybe some information that you didn't know.
So make sure you tune into the next episode where you'll get to know more about us, hopefully more about cigars, and we'll be talking about cutting your cigars, Steve's first cigar experience, and more. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast.